Hello, good day, Gypsy Woo Ronda coming to you. And we've got an amazing guest today. I can't wait to introduce him. But before I do want to mention we have a fantastic event coming up in New Smyrna Beach, Florida. That will be the weekend before Thanksgiving in the U.S., New Smyrna Beach. And we're looking at the 19th through 21st of November. So it's right around the corner. Come meet your soul family. It's also online, virtually. So there's going to be a lot going on there. You don't want to miss it. All right. So without any further ado, here we go. So my friend Nilesh is a speaker at the event, and just wanted to welcome you today, being here. Understand that this is your first weekend off in, you said 6 months?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's been a little bit crazy. I've worked about 6 months, 7 days a week, and probably about between 10 and 12 hours a day. So it's it's my first weekend off. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So I feel like my body, my human body's crashing a little bit, because it's the first time it's had some time off. But that's okay. We're here. We're doing it. We're still, we're still here, no matter what it takes. We do it.
Very good. It probably just doesn't know what the hell to do. Yeah, kind of. I mean, I've worked way harder than this before. This is not hard. But the body still, feels it. So it's feeling it. So it's okay. Yeah. We're here. We're doing what we need to do. Good. And I did not give you an opportunity, Nilesh, to really introduce yourself, who you are, what you do. So would you like to do that?
So So I have a fractal, a very minute microscopic fractal of Metatron within my soul, and part of my purpose for being here on planet Earth is to be here and hold the light, and also to ensure 5D happens. So that's kind of why we're here. There's very much different fractions on the planet, and I represent the angelic side, or I have lived as many other factions. It's not the only part of my soul. There's more, but yeah, I have, and I'm not the only one. There are millions of Metis here on planet Earth. I'm not the only one. There are many. Yeah. And my Patreon channel is no longer up and running, but if you guys followed it, you would see that I actually did a group full of other Metatron fractals, and it was great just sharing different elements of different consciousness or vibration of Metatron during those sessions. Yeah, so it's really cool. I think we should all kind of get together. It's important.
Absolutely. And yes, I actually was part of your Patreon group, and I did listen to, I don't think I was ever live with you when you had the other Metis on, but I definitely did listen to the other ones that you put together. So, and always interesting. And the one that I remember, which I don't even know why this would come up at the top of my head, but the one that I recall the most was when you, what was it? Oh, you were dating yourself, right? We were right. At that particular one, and that's the one that stands out most in my mind. I thought was an interesting and loving to self way to be you, introduce you to you.
It was a very controversial session. I know the ones you're talking about is the ones I did with Bernadette.
Yes.
And I love her. She is incredible. She's an incredible soul.
So lovely.
And I was going through a breakup at the time, and well, actually, I had gone through a breakup, and coming out the other end of that, and I wasn't quite sure whether to post that. I was a little bit like unsure, and then the guidance was really clear that, hey, you know, it's important to share it so other people can identify with it, and also they might be able to kind of learn something that might help them in their own particular journey. And that's very much part of what we angelics do. We go through experiences, but we don't necessarily hide them, we share them, you know. And sharing that was probably you know, very kind of like deep, I suppose, in many ways, you know, because I think it's important to know that although we're angelic and we come from the angelic realm, and there are many angelics here, you know, not just Metis, as Michaels, as Gabriels, as Uriels, as Sound Dolphins. They're all here, you know, and we all have like elements and fractals and even memories of being in what I call the house of heaven, because there's not just one house, there are many houses. But you know, we can identify with that and relate to that. But yeah, it's just important to share that, really, share that kind of, you know, experience, and maybe it might help another, you know. We almost like put our lives out on the line, really.
Yeah, that was very, you know, I thought that was very brave of you, and just an amazing thing that you did, and you were able to share that. And I mean, you are this being, and you've been other beings, of course, we all have, excuse me, in our lives, in our past lives. But it really did show the human side of you and how frail we all are. We all have our emotions, you know, we all, you know, we get mad, we get sad, we grieve, we, you know, one extreme to the other. And I thought that was very courageous of you both to be on there sharing something quite intimate, actually. So it was very lovely and truly a blessing. So, and I didn't mean to start with that, so that must have been something I had to say. But because we're bringing up your human side, I'd actually like to talk to you as Nilesh, the man. I don't think you get a whole opportunity to talk about that. So if you're up for that, I have a couple questions for you. If you're ready.
Sure.
Dun, da, 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 da.
Sure.
So I was kind of curious, Nilesh, about your childhood. I mean, would you mind sharing a little bit of your childhood?
Yeah, sure, of course. So, as many of you know, that I wasn't born here. I was a walk-in, but I was born into, well, this human body was born into a Hindu culture, and I was brought up with a Hindu culture. I was a walking at the age of 7. I was brought here, and I walked into this particular body. And the reason for that's really quite simple. There are many of us who are walk-ins, and the reason we're walk-ins is because the planet is being monitored by the elite, by the reptilians, specifically from the moon. And I know a lot of people find that hard to believe, but it's true, as we're about to discover, as humanity is about to discover. And so I couldn't be born here. I had to be walking. So the soul that was in this body pre-age 7 had an agreement to leave, and I walked in. Mm-hmm. I came here. I was almost delivered here by my mother, and she and my other siblings are here too. So I have sisters and brothers here too. And it's taken me some time to kind of find them over the years. So I was brought into this Hindu culture. I'm always very aware that I was very sensitive. I think many of you can very much relate to that. A very sensitive child. I could pick up on people's feelings from a very young age. I was able to be empathic, is the word. that we use today at a very, very young age. I could feel people's feelings, but not only could I feel their feelings, I could also sense where those feelings come from.
Mm-hmm.
And I could also sense when they were storing them, good and bad. And I could almost be inside of their bodies and feel the experience that we're going through. It was a very unusual experience to have a child as a child, especially when you didn't understand what that really meant.
Right.
I also was
because you also, I'm sorry, because you also, the veil was also upon you once you got here, right? You had no idea why all of this stuff was going on with you, and nobody else could see it or feel it or know it, really.
Yes, being brought up in a Hindu culture, you're taught to worship gods, and it was very difficult to kind of do that. And I did that for a period of time, I went to temples and I did the rituals according to the Hindu culture. And then at about the age of 11 onwards, I started to become more aware about how I was feeling about lots of things about the world around me, and being able to kind of make sense of it more than I was when I was 7. And then by the age of 14, I relinquished the religion. I stopped following it completely. It was slowly diminishing as time was going forward. I became very aware. I can remember the age I was 15, 16 years old, and I became very aware at this time that the only thing that really mattered was love. And I was very, very, very aware of that, and it was very important to me, and I didn't understand why at the time. I did get teased and picked on in many ways. I'm sure many people who've experienced this, who consider themselves to be outside of the family or black sheep of the family, will understand exactly what I'm saying. I was bullied by family members as well for being so sensitive and considered to be weak, and I don't consider it to be a weakness. If you come from the heart space, it's very powerful. And so I grew into kind of adulthood, and I met my then wife, and we got married, and we had children, and did the family thing for a while, and I divorced, I think it was about 8 years ago, separated almost longer than that. I started my journey pretty much 8 years ago properly. I started it way before then, but like properly, like committing to it and doing it was probably 9 years ago now. Kind of here really. I mean, the reason why I got married and had children and all these other things was because I needed to waste some time because I needed for this particular moment in time to arrive. So it was almost like, well, what to do with that time. Strangely enough, I married a reptilian.
Oh my. Okay, and I have to ask, was she also from India? No,
she wasn't. No, she's English.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so she was a reptilian, but you didn't realize that until, of course, after you got married.
Well, you kind of like don't really understand a lot about this. I mean, my journey in regards to different worlds started when I was 16. I used to be part of a UFO group as young as that, and we used to investigate UFOs, and I had documents of different UFO sightings locally where I lived in England, and I didn't keep them because when you kind of hit into adulthood and you become a father and a husband and many other things, you kind of relinquish those kind of things, and they get left and put to the side. I realized that my will at that time, because there was an understanding of energy and vibration at that time, but my will was strong, and I could be very dominant and assertive, and I needed someone equally dominant and assertive to kind of hold me. And so at that time, a reptilian is probably it. But it didn't last, obviously, because Again, it's contracts and agreements, and
Right.
the time had come for me to kind of move away from that, separate from that, and step into a different vibration, and so here I am. And since I've had many relationships, and very different relationships, each one always offers something very, very different. We can learn from one another, which is always wonderful. I've always been in service my whole life, so I work with people with mental health problems, and I've been doing this job for about 25 years plus, and it comes very naturally to me. I don't have to work very hard to kind of help those around me, and I love what I do. I've always felt that my place has always been at grassroots level, always where there's always pain and suffering and distress and difficulty, and I kind of felt like that was my place. I mean, there were many times during those 25 years where I had a lot of people, friends and colleagues around me who were saying, go and qualify, Nilesh, go and be a nurse or go and be a social worker, you can do this, and I'm like, yeah, I can, but there was something just always kept saying, no, don't do that, and I didn't, and the reason for that is, vibration is needed at grassroots level. It's not needed at the top. But it's needed. I serve many by being this level. Yeah.
So by becoming that title, social worker, nurse, whatever it is, that would not align with where you needed to be, so to speak. And I don't mean to put them up or down. It's just, when people think about a nurse or a doctor or somebody with letters after their name or a title, they think, well, they're up here, but these people don't necessarily deal with, the people on the street. They don't get the opportunity, the chance to meet those homeless, to really, talk with these individuals. Is that kind of why that separation there?
Kind of. I mean, I'd say nurses do definitely get to see the one-to-one and do have interaction, especially here in England.
Well, if they come to the hospital, they do.
Sure. Yeah, but you get nurses out in the community too. They do have access for sure. But one of the main reasons really was I was very fortunate enough to be trained by both disciplines. So I worked for the NHS for about 15 years, and then I also worked for social services for a number of years. And I was very lucky to be trained by both disciplines. So the work that I do now incorporates both. It's not just incorporating one discipline. Obviously, many of you will be aware that the NHS is very much based around the medical model, and social care is very much based around the social care model. And each discipline has its merits, but it's even better if it's combined and worked together. So I was very fortunate to work with some fantastic nurses, and I learned so much through them for many years. I worked with some very high-grade nurses, which was wonderful to sit and watch and learn. And then I was also very fortunate to work with people with great social care skills and using the social care model and learn so much through that too. And so with the knowledge of both disciplines, I was able to combine them both and provide a much more of a holistic approach rather than just a particular discipline.
Very good. And so therefore we see the Nilesh in front of us, who has gotten all of this fabulous experience and who has learned to serve. Yeah,
kind of. Yeah, there's more. I mean, obviously, spiritual journey started too, and I was I was born into a very spiritual religion / culture, and that kind of facilitated me to go further. So my journey began before I did the videos with Alba, but it kind of confirmed many things. But even after I did the videos with Alba, it still took me a number of years to accept the fractal of Meti that is within my soul, and I was in denial of it for a long time. Years. It wasn't months, weeks, it was years. And it's only until I finally relented, after having many discussions with lots of great enlightened vibrational souls, that I decided, hey, to accept this. And then the floodgates opened, and I I kind of know things. I remember things that that aren't in books. So it's a very interesting journey. So and it just, I think more than anything, it just raised my light, my vibration. It kind of, I'm like many others on this planet. I'm not the only one. There are many others who also are activators, activate other people's light and trigger them into their own path or into their own being. And I know that my vibration does that with people, because I've done this a lot. I have over the years, I've done a lot of work in the evenings. So, I've come home from work, and, Monday right the way through to Sunday, I've been doing evening sessions with people and meditations, and helping people to understand more about who they are, and helping them to come onto their path and, activate healing, whatever's required during that time. I don't do that anymore. I don't do that.
Right.
Yeah, I don't do that.
Don't send Nilesh your request. He doesn't do that anymore. You're going to get all these thousands of people trying to get a hold of you.
Yeah. And that is one of the things with being angelic, is there's a lot of people do want to get in touch with you, and sometimes I have time. Right at the moment I don't, but sometimes I have time to do it, and other times I don't. And I've also got to honor the vibration at the time. The time for that particular vibration is over. It's time for people to be stepping in more into the power. So, a lot of the videos I've been doing talks much about sovereignty. I have answers, but I choose not to give them. Only if we're not getting anywhere. But I choose not to give them, because I 100% believe that people are powerful and they're sovereign, and they just really need to step into their own heart space, their own inner being, their own soul, and have a communication, a two-way communication with your soul, to discover more about who you are, and to trust it. And I try and teach that more, because I don't think I know it's kind of what the one way to reach, the one consciousness field we're going. If everyone's connected to themselves, then, you automatically connect to others too. So yeah, it's more important to teach that. And right now, with all of the changes happening on the planet,
oh yes,
there's a lot of focus on that right now. So yeah, it's a very interesting time.
Yes, yes, we are.
Troubling time for many, for sure. But yes. Right.
So there's a lot that I would like to get into with what you said. But before we move forward with all of that, so I guess my question would be, as a man, do you, and this might be a little too much, and we can always get rid of it, I guess, but as a man, do you feel that many men, because there's so many women and females that I run into who are oh my God, amazing, right? And not to say that men aren't amazing, but there seem to be a lot more females who are into this. So are you finding that there's more men waking up, and why aren't they?
Yes, there are more men waking up all of the time. It's happening as we speak. But we need more time, because as being a divine feminine, you have a couple of advantages over men. Okay, so let me explain that. First of all, many women over the planet, many divine feminine all over this planet, are already connected to their emotions, and many divine feminine also are not afraid to speak about their emotions, not afraid to kind of own their emotions and their experiences and what they're going through, and I think more importantly, more open to being vulnerable. I think that's really important. And as men, we've not been trained that way. We've not been programmed or conditioned that way. We've been very much conditioned to hold it in. Very much conditioned to never speak about emotion, like push it down and just get on with it. You're a man, and men don't cry either. You're not allowed to show emotion. And I think that has definitely stunted the growth of the divine masculine, because the divine masculine is changing. There are many women out there find alpha males very attractive, and I think for a period of time there was that kind of particular wave coming through planet Earth, and now we're seeing the combination of the alphaness mixed in with the spirituality. I think they give it so many different labels. It's very difficult, but you can be alpha and spiritual for sure, because you're more mindful, you're more aware, you're more conscious of what you're doing and the impact that you're having on someone around you. And but you can also be very strong with it. I feel like there are many males waking up 100%. So that's number one. Number two is that Gaia is divine feminine, and therefore it is far easier for you to connect. That's why many divine feminine really have a great affinity with nature, and not only nature but also animals, which is also part of Gaia. So when women talk about, hey, I love walking out in nature, I love swimming in the lakes or anything natural like waterfalls and forests and little kind of lagoons, all this stuff really appeals to the divine feminine heart, and also your affinity with animals as well, the ability to connect to those too. That's not to say that the divine masculine can't. They can, but there's an advantage being divine feminine. You automatically connect to Gaia, and it's already there. All you have to do is acknowledge it. For us males, we do have to work that little bit harder, to connect to Gaia and to maintain that connection and to honor her in the way that we do honor her. We have forgotten, as the male species on this planet, of our divinity with Gaia, and we need to be reminded of that, and that is going to take time to get there. But yeah, there are many men who are coming into their awareness with this. I think what I'm seeing is there's a lot of frustrated divine feminine wanting for this to happen like yesterday, like they are just tired of waiting. But I'm asking them to be patient. The divine feminine have had advantages, whereas the male masculine haven't, and we have to work that a little bit harder. And we have a lot more to transmute to. There is a lot of repression, a lot of programming that the divine masculine have been subjected to, and it's going to take a little bit of time.
Interrupt for a moment. So you're saying that the divine feminine, they're frustrated because they're waiting for something to happen on the planet, or for the men to finally wake up?
Yeah, both. But more importantly, probably the love connection, I feel.
Okay.
They're waiting for their particular divine masculine, and there are, yes, the divine feminine. Wonderful. It's so wonderful that many of you are there and ready and waiting, and that's wonderful. So hold space for the divine masculine to be there, because we would do that for you. We would hold space for you. So we're asking for you to hold space for us too, and help us to reach your level of consciousness and vibration. And we will reach there, probably a little bit slower, but we will reach there. We'll reach there. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. So you had stated something about stepping into your power. And that was actually one of my questions that I had for you. So I guess we're going to move ahead. And if you could, sure. I don't want to get too far away from where we are, but if you could, how does one step into their power?
It's a very good question. I think it's unique and individual to every soul. I feel like it first comes down to many things, but the most basic is, first of all, recognizing that you're a soul and the soul is residing in this body. It doesn't matter where it is. I always feel like it's in the heart space, but it can be anywhere, and recognizing that you're a soul, and then asking like further questions about, okay, so I am this soul residing in this body. I am consciousness having a human experience. So is there more to me than just this? Expanding that awareness a little bit further. And it usually steps into life after death. So does life after death exist? And having explorations on that, read about it, look it up on the internet. We have so much information on that now. And exploring, and that automatically brings you to whether there is a God. And I think on this planet we've been so forced with the idea of God and what that kind of idea and how it represents in these different cultures and religions. I think a lot of people just step away from that, but I would say don't step away from it. Go in and do your own research, your own investigations, and use your heart as guidance to feel what feels right for you. So from a very young age, I kind of felt like religions were like a triangle. Okay, so I felt like all religions sat at the bottom of the triangle, but you all end up going to the same place. That's how I see it. So to me, it doesn't matter which discipline you choose, it's going to take you to the same point. But I chose, spirituality as to be, what felt really right for me. I do believe in God, but not in the Christian God or the Hindu gods, because there's many, or the Muslim God, or any other God. I kind of feel like God has many different vibrations and can be everything to everyone, because he's awesome like that. So I kind of feel like that is the next stage, to question if there is a God, and is it just one God? Is there several gods? And as we are discovering, there's more than one God. There are many. But in this particular realm, I'm aware of 13. And I know that's hard for some people to believe and swallow, but it's true. There's 13. And they all control what I call quadrants of universes. And what I mean by quadrants is very hard to put into numbers, but it'll be trillions upon trillions would be a quadrant, and they will control many quadrants. Control is a wrong word, but it would be oversee and co-create and manifest with many different beings in those quadrants. And that's how I see that. So once you start to kind of question a bit more about God, whether God exists, whether it's God male, female, something else, alien, whatever it might be to you, then you're stepping more into more of who you are and where your place is within that universe. Do you come from the realm of heaven? There are some things in the Bible that I feel are true, and there are many things in the Bible, and I mean many, that are very untrue, and it was designed to control, and I feel like the elite have done a great job with that, but my understanding of the house of heaven is very different to the Bible's version. I definitely don't see it in that way at all. So sorry, we are digressing a little bit.
That's okay.
We talk about understanding where your place is, and then once you've discovered where there is a God or isn't a God, then you look a little bit deeper. And so you wouldn't have just experienced one thing because you're a multi-dimensional being. You would have experienced many things all at the same time on many different levels and parallel universes and dimensions and fractals, and we can go into all of that. But you would have looked at the next stage would have been galactics, because when you step from God, they'd be like, well, what else has God created, or what other creations out there? And that takes us to the galactic side of things and understanding more about that. And then you'd explore about your galactic self, because the answers people are looking for are already within their soul. You don't need to seek outside of it. Go in, and if you want to go in, it's really simple. Meditation works really well. If you can't sit and meditate, go for a walk in the field, take your shoes and socks off, go and walk around in the grass, go and do some qigong, go and do some yoga, go and do some tai chi, go and do some ironing. You can get into a meditative state just by ironing. Sometimes when you're driving, you're falling into a meditative state. You're like driving from one location to another location, and then before you know it, you've arrived at your location, or you're halfway towards your destination, and you're like, how did I get here? I don't even remember the last 10 minutes. There are so many ways to get into a meditative state. Listen to music. It can be rock, it can be rap, it can be grunge, it can be heavy metal, it can be whatever you want it to be. It can, it could be whatever you want it to be. It can be pop, it can be, it can be all sorts. There's so many different types, so many different ways to get into that meditative state. So just choose your own particular, vehicle and use it. Yeah.
And I don't want to regress too much. I'm intrigued with the 13 gods, however, I have to say. Yes. And I would love to explore that a little bit deeper, because that is just something new. If you would you be able to say a little bit more about the 13 gods? I mean, I also felt like how you described your pyramid. I think that's a wonderful analogy. Is everything points to one, and that's what I always considered. Is there is a energy source, an incredible something that is a guiding light, whatever that is. And so all of these gods, all of these different religions kind of go to the same thing. But the 13 gods, which and 13 has always been one of those numbers that is supposed to be taboo, which is kind of also very interesting here. But I would love to learn a little bit more about that. I'm not sure if now is the appropriate time, or maybe we just do something later regarding that.
We can talk a little bit about it. So the 13 are different. Each and every one are different. They're not the same. Some have decided to be more masculine in nature. Some have decided to be more feminine in nature. But they're all very, very powerful, as you can imagine. They all have... what I have noticed about them is that they always seem to have like one or two things that they are completely like awesome at. And it's normally to do with creation and their ability to create. It's a bit like how we are at school. You have like probably 9 or 10 subjects, but there are always 1 or 2 that like you love and are absolutely amazing, and that's kind of your niche, and that's how I see these particular gods. So, without kind of saying too much or discussing too much about that, I have been fortunate enough to spend time to observe, what they do, and spend time enough to understand their nature. And all of them are powerful, and they're all omnipresent, and they're all loving, but there are elements of their universes that are just slightly different. Some can be more warrior like, some can be, I know there's 2 of them that are very more warrior energy than the father of this particular universe, where it's all he's very much open to creation, very much open to whatever. He reminds me a little bit like the way Richard Branson is. Richard Branson never says no. It's always a yes to everything, you know, and a little bit like that. He always says yes to everything because he's so open to creation and so open. And it doesn't really matter whether that creation succeed or fails. It doesn't matter to him. A creation is a creation, and it will live out the cycle that it's meant to live out. And then once you know they're done with that creation, it will end. But yeah, I have witnessed and seen them like get together. Yeah. They're very.
So they all get together and they play poker and they smoke and they drink and they're, you know, they're going all in with their chips, or like how does
that would be such a fun. That'd be such a fun thing, you know. But no, they don't do that. They don't do that. They have. They mainly discuss creation a lot. That seems to be their thing.
Yeah.
For them, it's paramount. And the reason for that, look, the rules in the universe are very simple. They're not difficult. They were never made difficult. The more that you create, the more powerful light, brightness that you have. You know, if you see a very bright white light, it's not because, you know, they came from a particular place. It's because they've just created and co-created with many other different beings and gods alike. There are also gods on this planet too. You know, I've had contact with them, and again, if some of you were members of my Patreon channel, you would have remembered the source, this god being, you know, Jackie Holland, I think her name is, and yeah, she has she's a fractal of a source god being here on planet Earth. So when people say, hey, you know, gods don't, you know, incarnate here on planet Earth, they do. There's a value in it, much more value than people realize, you know.
Yeah.
And so yeah, they do stuff like that, yeah, all the time. But mainly they spend much time. They don't spend much time together, but it's the thing that I witnessed. This is a few years ago now, was when I knew Ascension was going to be happening. And so what actually, I don't know if people are aware of this, but when Ascension happens, it doesn't just affect planet Earth. It affects not only this whole system, this whole galaxy, but this whole universe, and reverberates along universes in the locality, okay? It won't affect everything. It doesn't work like that. It's not powerful enough for that. So let me try and explain to humanity about universes. So if you're standing on a beach, okay, and if you can imagine every grain of sand on that beach is the universe, that's what you're looking at.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you can imagine that's just being one level, now multiply that level by 20. So there's 20 beaches now, right? So let's multiply that by another 20. So there's 40 now, 40 levels of beaches. Now, if you can imagine that every single grain of sand is interconnected with every other grain of sand on every single level, that's the complexity we are talking about.
Holy crap, that's mind-blowing.
Yeah. And we're only seeing...
Each one of those is a dimension, is what you're saying.
Nope.
No, it's not. That we're not even getting to dimensions. Oh my gosh. Okay.
No, dimensions are when you're talking about dimensions, you're talking about dimensions in a universe. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about helping humanity and the brain to grasp the concept that if you can imagine a beach and the trillions of grains of sand on one level, and then add, you know, another, say, let's make it easy, 5 levels. And if you can imagine every grain of sand on the bottom, the first level, is interconnected with the second level, and then the third, and then the fourth, and then the fifth. And we're all interconnected. There's no separation. Yeah? This is how complex it is.
That is really mind-blowing. Like I'm going to need time to even wrap my head around that, because that's quite amazing. So you've been on this discovery process of yourself and kind of the planet, the universe, the cosmos. Really, before you were introduced on alvaweinman.com. And
correct, yeah.
What have you discovered maybe is the most psychedelic of everything? What is the biggest thing that blew your brain, and now you're able to talk about it?
There's some things I still can't talk about because I'm not allowed to.
Of course.
But I suppose I think it comes in stages. I don't think there's one particular thing. It's like every step of the way that I've understood more about my journey, my mission, and the soul that resides within this body has always amazed me. So I suppose the first thing was, the connection to God, to Father, was the first one, and also understanding a bit more about Metatron, because what's been told here on planet Earth isn't correct. There is so much more to that level, and so understanding that everything in the universe and universes is all about vibration, and vibration is all about light. That's the frequency. That's how we do it. And I suppose I can share a really funny memory that I have. So there is a sort of hierarchy, but it's not hierarchy in the sense that we see it here on planet Earth. Things are seen through vibration and light. So the brighter your light means the more that you have just created yourself as an individual soul, but also what you've co-created with other souls, ascended masters, gods, etc., etc. And so the more that you do that, the brighter the light you have. Simple as that. Yeah, it's not quantum physics. So that's probably number one. So in the realms of heaven, there are jobs, missions to be carried out, and so I know Metatron will only liaise with a few archangels, and so those would be Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, Sandalph, and Raphael. Those are the ones that Metatron will have his connections with in regards to giving out like missions and jobs or things that need to be done. And so we tried to, Metatron tried to give out a mission job to an angelic that wasn't an archangel. And what we discovered is that they find it very, very difficult to be in the light of that. The vibration of the light and the love that's emanating from it is very difficult for some souls to be around. And rather than being able to convey to them of what the mission is, they can't help but be totally overwhelmed by your vibration. So I'm sure many of you can relate to this right now, that when you're here on planet Earth and you're sitting next to someone or you're talking to someone, they feel very overwhelmed by your presence, by your vibration, by your energy, by your frequency, whatever label you wish to give it. And it's the same in other realms too. There is a frequency. And so this is why Metatron cannot give out jobs, so it's called missions. And this is why it's always handed over, to one of the archangels, and they will, give it, disseminate it, or pass it on to whichever angel that it needs to be passed on to. So this is why it happens in this way, just a little funny memory, I thought, because I tried, and I can remember having that memory, and this particular angel was just Bliss, just a gibbering wreck. I just couldn't cope with. I was trying to convey this mission, and they were just like so in awe of the vibration, and they couldn't even. They were like, yeah, I could feel and see their light just vibrating while I was trying to convey this mission to them, and I was like, this isn't working.
Poor baby, right?
Well,
so that's funny, and that brings me to the first time that I saw you on Elba, when you were able to go, into the hypnotic state, and she brought Meta out of you and Father, and the whole time you could see that you are absolutely relaxed. However, your body was so full of energy that it was just like, literally, and there was no way that you could have been in that relaxed state, and with all of this going on, making up, you just couldn't have made any of this up, because you would have been that gibbering mess, and so anyway, I thought, wow, he is the real deal, that whatever's going on, that is absolutely true, for you. It absolutely was, and I felt it for sure. And then the second time, just brought it home. I'm like, oh my God, I got to meet you. And unfortunately, I never did make it to Miami, but, Florida, New Smyrna Beach, baby, that's what I'm talking about. So,
yeah.
A couple more questions, if I may.
Yeah, of course.
Why is it important for you? And you've said this a couple times on other interviews. Why is it important that the angelics have to speak light language?
I don't think they have to, because I don't speak it, but I do feel it's a stepping stone. So what we see is that light language is you're speaking vibration. That's what light language is. And I feel like it's just another stepping stone to being vibration. So, this is one of the things that a lot of angelics will teach about, just becoming that vibration and being your vibration without having to say one single human word. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is the kind of the goal, really. So it's just another way of helping humanity to transition from speaking vibration to being vibration. We already are doing that. The next stage is telepathy. We already have this. You already have this.
Oh yeah.
You think you don't, but if you're, I don't know, in one location and you've got a family member or a friend or someone that you're really close to in another location, and for some reason you will get this urge to ring them, or something's wrong, and you'll have this urge to contact them, and so you pick up the phone and you contact that person, and you realize that something's happened, or they really needed you at that time and during that particular moment. And why is that? Again, we already are connected in that way. It's just about strengthening that connection between ourselves, not just with the ones that you are, with the family that you're born into or the friends that you have. Mm-hmm. It's really important to share love and vibration with everyone you meet. It's really, really important. I was going to share something with you, but I don't think I should. Well, that's why I was hesitating a little bit. No, I don't know. That's
okay.
A really good idea. But I think what we can learn from, and I do this a lot, is that sometimes it's great to give to someone that you don't know. I think we're really, really good at giving to our family and our friends, because they're the ones that we feel most connected to, or obligated to is the word. But I think it's also important to give to someone you don't know, a random person that you think's random, that you feel you have no connection with. I think it's important to give. You don't have to give much. It can be a little bit of your time, it can be a little bit of your energy, it can be money if you want it to be. It could be whatever you want to give. And I think it's so important that we learn that, because look, it's really quite simple. I'm not free until we're all free. Simple.
That's
Same goes for you.
Lovely.
You're not free until we're all free. Yeah. So let's become free, shall we?
There you go. I love that. Absolutely. And I have found, with where I am in life, I guess you could say, and I'm on the road in North America. North America is my home now. So I have been so blessed in meeting just strangers, just homeless people. And, we talk for hours just about enlightenment and spirituality and, whatever. I am so blessed that I'm able to do that. And I feel that this energy that I'm able to share, it's also an opportunity for me to gain from them in however we find each other, right? And I feel so blessed because of the synchronicities going on right now. And it's amazing time for us to be here on the planet. Amazing time for what's happening, what is going to happen, and what has actually already happened. So so wonderful. Right. I wanted to ask.
I think it's
sorry,
wonderful.
Go ahead.
I think it's wonderful. I think people should take time and sit with someone that they don't know and say, hey, share your story with me. I want to listen. And don't say anything. Just listen. You don't have to fix it.
No.
You don't have to find the solution to the problem. You don't have to give anything. Just take time and listen to someone else's story, someone you don't know. There is so much we can learn from others around us. And I think more importantly, it teaches us that we're not so dissimilar. We actually are very, very similar in nature. And a lot of people on this planet, just want to live in peace and want to be joyful and want to be happy,
Right.
So take the time to listen to someone else's story, not your family, not your friends. You already know their story. That's easy.
Yeah.
Take time out to listen to someone's story who you don't know.
You're right. Right.
Don't
And that's all about getting out of our 3D little realm that most, I don't want to say most, that some people still live in. But if they can get out of that containment field, then obviously the collective is us, the collective, everybody. We've got nowhere to go but up. So I think that is very important. That's a great message. So if I can ask, how does one hold? We've been talking about vibration and frequency, and once we get there, right? We feel it, we spread it. It's wherever it goes. How does one hold that? How do you actually continue that process to become more of a spiritual being with a higher vibration, a higher frequency? And I think frequency is the key here, because that is getting us to where we need to ultimately go. How do you hold that? Because you gave me a job, right? You gave me a particular task, and I've been working on that since the last time we spoke, was to envision myself with the vibration that spread out kind of like 8 meters all the way around me. And I've been doing that. I'm working on that. How do you hold that?
That's the key. You don't hold it. You're not meant to hold it. You're meant to be it. You understand? You don't.
I just have this, like, son of a bitch. You know, I just have this thought, like, okay, you know, you tricked me, you got me there. So
everything's about stepping stones. It's about doing things bit by bit. It's about following the breadcrumbs. But you don't hold vibration. You are the vibration. You just got to become it. The more that it's really when you step into some kind of altered state of consciousness, you find that within you there is this soul, this being that really wants to talk to you. It really wants to have an open dialogue with you. It wants to communicate more of who you are. I think over the years that you have been human, you have been conditioned and programmed by many things: television, phones, music. There's so much conditioning has happened throughout your human experience that you've stepped more away from the soul and stopped listening to that. Then the more time that you take to connect to this soul that is within you, the more that you'll understand more about who you are. Because what you're doing is you're allowing to have the dialogue between you and allowing it to expand within you. And the more that you allow it to be and expand, sometimes we are very good at putting up our own obstacles and obstructions. We're very good at kind of saying no. But it does take some courage and some bravery to actually allow and accept and specifically surrender to the information that you're being told.
There's that word.
Yeah. It's very difficult for a lot of people to do, but I suggest you try it. You know, sometimes just having whatever your modality is, whether it's walking out in nature, whether it's sitting in your bedroom and meditating, or in your armchair, or whether it's like doing qigong or whatever your modality is, use that to expand your soul, and have a dialogue with it. Have a chat with it, like you would, like you and I right now. You know, have a chat with it. You know, talk to it. You know, and it will give you information back, because that's what it does. Right. And then and everything you've been told, like, trust it. And step into it and become it, and then they will give you more information, and they'll expect you to trust in that and become that. The thing is, I think sometimes we're so preoccupied with right and wrong that we kind of doubt the information we've been given. Right. So please don't mistake them. I'm not saying, you know, if there's a part of you that says to go and harm another human being, you know the difference between right and wrong. You're fully aware of that. Your soul will never guide you wrong. It will always help you and guide you in the direction you need to go into. So trust it, allow it, be it, become it. And what you will find is that the information you were given to step onto the stepping stone that you are on right now might be incorrect. But that's okay, because the only way they could get you from this stepping stone to this one was to give you certain information to get you to get into this one. And now you're on that information, you look back and you go, oh, like, the information you gave me was incorrect, it wasn't accurate. And like, yes, but look at where you are right now. Like, we needed to give you that information to help you to step here, because you wouldn't have stepped here unless we'd given you something to move to here. And you're stubborn and you're difficult and you won't listen and you won't budge. You're like a donkey. You won't move. Yeah. So we have to push you sometimes. You know, we have to work with you according to the structure of you, according to what you will believe and what you don't believe, to help you to move forward and forward and forward until you become open. And so open that the information we give you It's second nature to you. It's not even questioned. It's not even second guessed. It just is, because that's the way it is.
Very good. Very good. Yes. And yes, I've had an experience, at least one like that, where they had to get me somewhere. So like at one point of time in your life where, you were wasting time. That's kind of what happened with me. And then, but it got me to another location that I had to be at. And that was the whole point. And there have been synchronicities with that whole playing out, basically. So, yeah.
I think it's very hard sometimes when we have an ego. It took me a long time to like get rid of it, and to almost like ignore it, because it's not required in our spiritual realm. It's not required.
Right.
So you can do it. You can do it. You can.
But we don't really
want to
listen
to the ego.
We don't really want to get rid of the ego. I mean, the ego is one of our fight or flight, right? Don't we need it for that?
No, you don't.
Okay. Well, that's a simple answer. Let's move on.
I'll tell you why you don't. An ego is a way of helping to kind of make you feel more significant and have value. That's what the ego is for. Is to help you to feel you're significant, and more importantly, probably significant than others. Which is why for a long time I struggled to accept this little microscopic fractal within my soul. I had great difficulty with it. But I had to work through it, and it took me about 3.5 years before I actually accepted it. And things change as a result. And you can get rid of the ego. It's not required, because if you come from a place of pure heart, if you come from a place of giving without wanting anything in return. So what I mean by return is without wanting praise, or without wanting something material in return, or without wanting a return favor for giving something, then you are in a place of complete flow. That's the place that I live. I give because I want to give, not because I want anything in return. I just give it. What people do with that is totally up to them. I don't have a say in that, but for that place, but the ego is not necessary. You can get rid of it 100%. You can, and you can live in the place where everything works out, everything flows, everything manifests to a certain extent, and it can be a good place. It can be a really, really good place. And many of you know this, because during this time right now, like, many of you are really calm and really peaceful right now, and like there is a storm raging around you, yet you're not in that storm. Your particular space, and the people that you're with right now, it's very peaceful, it's very calm. And there are some things that are happening around you, and sometimes it infiltrates your particular experience, but generally, you are calm, you are peaceful, and that's the place to be.
Nice. In
that flow. So I think we've been taught many things in psychology that really aren't relevant and will not be relevant as we move forward, and we're becoming that. You don't need the ego. Fight or flight, it's not really important. It's not going to be as we go forward. Yeah.
Okay, very good, very good. Well, people have some work to do, and I'm definitely one of them. So we all have our own little things to get done or through, or whatever that means to rise above, to get through those emotions that maybe have been suppressed for how many lives, right? Whatever happened in the traumas and what have you. But I did want to talk about a little bit about the coming, I guess what's coming, and specifically I had connected with Father, and I had also connected with my father, my dad, about a solar pulse that is going to hit, and this pulse that's coming is pretty good. It will be pretty intense, and I am part of the cleanup crew, which is still coming to light. I don't get everything about that, but I have a really good idea what that means. But my question is, I know that this pulse that's coming is something that, it's divine. It will happen. And how do we become more of these light bodies so it passes through us?
Okay, well, it's not going to pass through you, so let's make that really clear.
Okay.
You're going to have to assimilate this light is what's going to happen, and it's going to open up all of you, all of your gifts that's required for the transition between 3D and 5D. That's what's happening. Yeah. It's funny you should mention that. I think, okay, I can share that with you. So a couple of days ago, I think it was last Thursday or Friday, I can't remember which day it was, there was a full moon. I don't usually get affected by these things. There's, over the period of like the last kind of 10 years, I'd say there's probably this is probably like the second or third one where they've woken me up specifically to be aware of it for a reason. It's not very often I get woken up for these things, but I know there are many beings on the planet that actually are awake during this time and use the specific celestial vibration to bring forth magic, energy, vibration, awareness, consciousness, whatever it is for you, and I love that. But sorry, I am digressing again. But specifically last week there was a full moon, and they woke me up, and it was about 10 to 2 in the morning, and so you can imagine I'm not very pleased about those kind of early mornings. And they wouldn't let me go to sleep for at least another hour. And so I was awake for an hour, and the reason they woke me up was because they wanted for me to be conscious and aware of 2 particular planets. And then we're not talking about this solar system, it's another solar system in another universe that was specifically coming into alignment. And the reason they wanted me to be aware of it was because these 2 planets that were coming into alignment are gonna have the light coming through them. So they wanted me to be aware of that. Now, they wouldn't give me the names of the planets or which particular universe it was coming from. They just wanted me to be aware of it. So I'm very fortunate in some ways that I can feel the consciousness of the planets, and I can feel each and every one's unique, obviously. So yeah, they were just making that very aware. They always were drilling it into my brain that this is what's happening, and we need you to be aware of it. I don't know why.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no idea.
That's funny that you mentioned that, because that was the Hunter's full moon that just, quite significant from what I've heard, that has just come and gone. And I actually found myself waking up at something like 4 a.m. for no reason whatsoever. But I did go outside and just take it all in. It's just beautiful, and I just had to, I don't know. I woke up, I had to go outside, and I said, whatever it was, we connected. Thank you for being as beautiful as you are and what you're doing. And I went back to bed. So it was short, sweet, and to the point. And I went back to sleep. So yay.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
And I suppose the reason I'm mentioning that is because of the light that you're talking about. There's been less talk about that over the last kind of 2 years, I'd say, but you can't stop what's about to happen.
Right.
We're locked in. People are going to struggle to get on the planet and get off the planet right now. So we're locked in. We're locked in for that roller coaster ride. You're locked in now. We just got to ride it out to the end. And it's going to be pretty spectacular. And there are what I also want many other beings to know, because I think there are many that can relate to this. This isn't the only ascension you've ever been on. There are many that I have been a part of, many. And the reason I'm saying this to you, because I'm hoping that it will trigger a memory within you to remind you of the other ascensions that you've been on. So this isn't your first rodeo, this isn't your first time. Yeah, you've done it before.
Are you talking to me, or are you talking to everybody? Everybody.
I'm talking to
everybody.
I'm talking to you, and I'm talking to everybody.
Okay. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Good. Okay. Fabulous. Yes. Many ascensions that us beings have been in. Very good.
Yes.
Very good. So, I was wondering, is there a message that you or any of you would like to portray and shed light onto who will be watching this?
I think what's really important is I think for light workers, you know who you are, because you know now. Many of you know now. To spend a little bit of time on yourself, a little bit of love, a little bit of TLC. I'm very proud of every single soul that's come through this particular chapter of humanity's experience, because this is just one chapter of many that are about to come. Ascension is not where it stops. There are many, and I'm really, really proud of each and every one of you that have given so much during this time and still continue to give. And I think it's really time to do a little bit of self-care, a little bit of self-love, and whether that's taking time out to do your most favorite thing, whatever that might be, taking a bath, hot shower, eating your favorite meal, going for a walk, going to the restaurant, taking part in some physical activity, or going to watch a ballet or a football match, or whatever it might be that makes you feel joy and feel centered and balanced and happy. I think it's time to do that. And I just don't want you to do it once. I want you to make it into a routine and do this regularly, because it's really, really important. Because the time we've been spending a lot of our human time giving, we're going through what I see as like different kind of phases of vibration, frequency of vibration, through our linear time. There was a time, and I've talked about this before, where there was this savior complex where many of the angelics and galactics felt like they needed to save a particular group of people, or their family, or their partner, or their children. Right. And that ended some time ago. That ended almost, I don't know, I'd say about 15-20 years ago. Oh. And and some people are still in it, and I think we need to be stepping away from that and allowing a lot of the human souls here to take responsibility for their own development, their own vibrational development, their own experience, as much as we can. Well, there are some that can't do that, who do need our help. I get that. But I think there's also an element of self-care that really needs to take place now, because the next phase is going to be more difficult, and you're going to need every ounce of your vibrational frequency energy to kind of get through it. So a little bit of self-care right now would be a good thing. and just to replenish, just to stock up. One of the most beautiful thing about light workers and light warriors is that we give until we have nothing left for us. It's how we do it. It's how it's been done forever. You know. And I'm asking each and every one of you to take some time out for you, but I just don't want you to do it at once. I want you to make it part of your routine to do this on a regular basis. It's so important right now, because there is much more still yet to come. The darkness still have so much more to reveal to this planet. We cannot move forward in the pure light consciousness that we need to until the darkness reveals the true extent of their control over humanity. And I want souls and humans to understand this, that the reason why everything's being revealed is because it has to, in order for humanity to move forward into a different vibrational light. 5D is exceptional. You know, we don't, you know, I've mentioned this before, Father and I and many other, you know, vibrational beings who are aware of this, because you will be aware of it, you'll know yourself. We don't get to choose, you know, the experience that you're having. Only you get to choose that. We just built the structure. That's all we did. We built the structure and you guys filled it. And what it's been filled with is not great. And what's been allowed has not been great.
Yeah.
And all of that needs to be revealed, you know. And once it is revealed, you know, it's going to be pretty spectacular.
Okay.
Having said that, it's also to remember that you are consciousness having a human experience. So remember that too. So when it gets too much, because it does get too much sometimes for all of us, you know, the restrictions, the passports, the vaccines, you know, there's a lot going on, and the awareness of like all of the darkness that's happening, you know, especially what's happening to our children.
Yeah.
I find it's very hard for me as an angelic to be, you know, sitting at the sidelines and watching this, because our job is to observe, really, especially mine, is to observe what's happening here on planet Earth and kind of see it. It's very hard for me to see, you know, people in distress and suffering. I find it very difficult to see that, you know. I don't like to see it. It hurts my heart sometimes. You know, but I understand that this is an experience. So what I mean by this is really quite simple, is that there are many who have chosen to leave the planet so you can be activated, so you can be woken up, so you can be triggered onto your path. There are those who are going to be long-term customers of the pharma giants, and again, that is another form of awakening for those around you. And there are the ones who are going to be AI robots, and again, that's an experience to have. You know, one of the things that I'm really quite mindful of is there is no judgment or criticism about the experience you want to have. And I'll tell you why I feel like this. The reason I feel like this is because I know you are immortal. I know your soul is immortal, and I know that nothing can harm you. Nothing. You just feel like in this human experience, it does, and it harms your body, but your soul is immortal. You know, no one can take that from you. You can't sign it away. Okay. There's a lot of talk about that.
Oh,
you can't sign it away. Okay. It belongs to you, you know, and those that are listening to this will know what I'm talking about, because the they call him God. You know, there are two gods apparently, light and dark, apparently, and they say that they signed it away to the dark God. Well, if you knew where that dark God came from, like, you would be very surprised. So yeah, the experience you're having, it needs to be played out, because it needs to be played out. This is the human experience, but your soul cannot be damaged. It cannot be destroyed in that way at all. It can't be given away either. It's yours. You'll see when it ends.
I love that. And I know that the people who are going to be listening to this, they will be looking for that message. That's one of the reasons they're going to find you. They're going to find us, and I think that they will need to hear that. And I think it really comes down to whatever has happened in the past is in the past. It's not your soul, right? It's not what you are. It's just something that it was an experience. And
correct.
What I have found in talking with strangers is that a lot of people, they just don't feel they're worthy. This has happened to them, or I've done this to somebody, or, and I think that we are all powerful beings, and learning to step into our powers is really critical, especially in what's coming.
I think, isn't that the beauty of the experience? Look, you are immortal and you are powerful beyond your perception, beyond your wildest dreams. 100% you are. Whether you believe it or not, that's down to your limitations and your barriers. Yeah, that's not down to how I see it or how I see you. What you've got to understand is that you are consciousness having an experience, and the more that you've tied yourself up with lots of experiences that haven't been very good, the more of a challenge it is, right, to kind of step out of it. That's how incredible you are. That's how fantastic you are, that you are prepared to have all these crazy challenges in front of you, and you are like, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to overcome this. And it's about trusting in the soul that is within to allow you and guide you, to show you how to do that. And if you can't trust in your soul because you're not connected to it and you're not talking to yourself, there are other people around you to help you to connect to your soul, but also that you can connect with to receive guidance. I want humanity to look within. Really need you to look within, because from that space there is a light, and the purity of light is love, and it's pure love like you've never felt before. I know I've mentioned this before, but I have memories of like when some souls choose to come and have their life review with Father, and they go through their life review as a human and what they experienced, and they go through it through different perspectives. It isn't just their own. It's about everyone involved in that experience. You actually go and step into their consciousness and feel the feelings they're feeling with the words that you said or the actions that you did. And it's a beautiful way to have a very whole view of how we can very much impact those around us. One thing's kind of really clear to me is that Father does not see you as weak or something missing or underdeveloped at all. Doesn't see you like that. You're complete. You're complete in every sense of that word. You're complete, and you can never. The soul that you have, the fractal of the soul that you have, that's in you, is a representation of a God, and that particular God they all have one thing in common. They all have an immense capacity to love unconditionally, because they understand that the experience you're having is just an experience you're having through your consciousness, or another word I like to use is through your vibration, because you are your vibration, and your vibration has a unique signature that's yours and yours alone. No two signatures are the same. Okay, and they love you unconditionally, without reservation, just as you are, just exactly as you are. And the more that you step into that realization, the more you're going to realize that there is nothing to fear, and that you don't have to hold back, and you can be exactly what you want to be, and step into that without reservation, without hesitation, and without explanation.
That's beautiful. And I think this is a perfect place to stop. I mean, words matter, and the vibration that is just coming from you is incredible. So I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed for this opportunity, and to see and hear more with Nilesh, aka Archangel Metatron, then you'll need to look it up. We are going to have our Divinely Guided event, the conference reunion. It is coming to New Smyrna Beach, Florida. It's tickets start as low virtually as $25. That's it. So feel, check it out. You can go to Eventbrite, go to Florida, go to New Smyrna Beach, and pull up Lightworkers United, Messages for Humanity. And there you will discover Nilesh, who is a featured speaker. There's also Charmian Redwood, and several more. We'll all be connecting as brothers and sisters. This has been amazing. I know that if you're feeling what I'm feeling, right, peaceful, and just empowered. All right. So with this, we're going to leave Nilesh and let him enjoy what's left of his weekend.